Mum guilt in estate agency. Today I'm joined by Jayne Twiddle, who is an estate agent from York, former National Operations Director for Hunters. Thanks for joining me today, Jayne.
Hello, Chris.
Okay, so have you ever suffered from mum guilt? And before you answer that question, if you were a man, I would not be asking you whether you suffered from dad guilt. So just wanted to put that out for me.
Okay.
Okay. So did you ever suffer from mum guilt?
All the time. All the time. And I still suffer from it now. And my children are grown up. I've got grandchildren now.
So you suffer from granny guilt as well?
Granny guilt, that's a new thing, isn't it? But yeah.
That's the first time you've had that.
Well, there you go.
obviously had your children young.
I
You don't get
absolutely, it
old
was a
ones, do you?
baby. It was a baby. No, I did have them young. I had my first daughter when I was 20. So she's now coming up 36. And yeah, and so I've got 4 children.
Okay.
And I was a single parent for a while I was at Hunters as well, while I was a valuer. That wasn't easy.
Because you went through the ranks, didn't you?
Absolutely went through the ranks, yes.
Did you start off with Kevin then
I did.
in York?
I did. I asked, in fact, Kevin actually gave me my first full-time job because I started off going in as a weekend negotiator. I actually needed to think about how I was going to earn a bit of extra money to leave my husband, really, at the time, which, and it sounds conniving, but that's what I wanted to do. And I saw a tiny little advert in the York Free Press. Saw it, I thought, maybe could do that.
Had you had your four kids at this point?
3.
3.
And so I went, got the job, got the weekend negotiator job. I absolutely loved it. Really loved it. And
Had you always planned to be a stay-at-home mum then?
oh no, I was always working, but I mean, I could give you a scroll. My friends usually say, "Have you ever done that?" Yeah, you must have done, because the scroll.
So you did lots of different
loads
jobs.
of things, from hairdressing to a golden greeter at Asda, which is the girl on the microphone with your reduced turkeys, etc. Done all sorts. A school photographer, loads of different things.
And then you found a state agency.
Found a state agency.
And not looked back since.
Never looked back, no. And I asked Kevin for my the first award evening that I was there, probably 9 months in, and I said to him, the next full-time job that comes up, I want it. And he did give me that. So I'm ever grateful to him for that.
So as you progressed through your career as
Yes.
full-time, I'm assuming full-time neg, valuer, branch manager,
Yep.
area manager, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
Had you left your husband by this point?
yes. Yeah, I left him not long after that.
Okay. So talk to me about the emotions that you were going through, being a valuer, because that brings its own
It does.
challenges. But branch manager, how are you spinning all the plates?
Probably in hindsight, probably not very well, to be honest. And I still have guilt over that now, because there are times when I did leave my children necessarily,
Change the radiator.
well, yeah, change the radiator, not quite, but I definitely left them with a friend's daughter for an hour or two. I would ring her and say, would Emma just pop down and just, because I'm not going to be back, or I juggled, which all mums do. And as I say, nowadays, there weren't breakfast clubs when I was younger. Oh, when the kids were younger, I'd take them to a childminder. But my eldest daughter, as I say, she's coming up 36 now. She was very, very independent, thankfully. I mean, I found out years later quite a lot of the arguments that her and her sister had, where she'd locked her out, wouldn't let her in, and all these different things. But they were 3 girls, and they're all very strong, resilient people.
You say you still feel guilty about what you did in the early days.
Yeah.
Have you spoken to your kids about that? Or is this the forum?
Yeah, this may be the forum for me to tell them. I suppose, yes, I have. I don't think we've directly touched on that.
Okay.
But I think probably is something that I want to discuss. I don't think I did anything that social services would be interested in hearing about, but I would very much, my intention when I had a child initially was that I was going to be the best mum ever, and I was going to be there for them every time. But reality is, when you're the person that needs to put the money on the table to look after them, that you need to work.
Okay, surely they've learned that you have to work hard in this world to get what you want.
Yes, I think that, and that's the balance, and I'm a big believer in balance, but I think that's the balance when I look back that I've actually given to them. My parents gave that to me, and I knew that work was the answer. In fact, at one time when I left my husband and I was looking for, as I say, a job and one thing and another, and I was thinking, well, could I get any benefits? And I went to speak to somebody at the benefits office, and they actually told me that I would be better off being part-time. I would end up with more money being part-time than I would be full-time. But I did think at the time, it wasn't a great difference, but I would have been. But I did think, no, I need to be able to show these that this is the way, and I'm never going to be able to progress, because at those times you couldn't progress being part-time. You needed to be full-time in the industry I was in. So I wanted to show my girls that that's what I would do, that I'd go and be full-time and work my way through. And, you know, I've got a real sense of achievement that I did do that. And I think that has benefited them in a lot of ways. But yeah, I think I can remember driving back one night, I suppose, how old would the eldest be then? Probably maybe 12, something like that. I can remember coming back from the Leeds office and driving in. I'd been stuck on the A64 trying to get home. So I wasn't best pleased by the time I got in. I walked in, tried to push the door open. There was a load of shoes in the, the foyers are coming through. So I'm pushing that, getting through. It doesn't help. I went through, and then I'm seeing the children just slouching around with their feet up and things like that. And somebody shouting, "What's for tea?" Well, it was already getting on. And I can remember there was a small pad of Post-it notes on the kitchen worktop. One of the kids must have been using for their, I don't know, the exams or whichever, pen at the side. And I started writing, "Move these shoes." And I had some sort of a whiteout or whatever you could explain it. Came round and I'd put these Post-it notes all over the house of things that needed to be done. And, it's that sort of thing when you release like that, you're thinking, oh my God, they're going to think I'm crackers. But you've got to then gather yourself up, make tea, get them all back on the side, and then get up the next morning at 6 o'clock and get cracking for your day ahead. And as I say, I think now my eldest has got 2 children. My youngest has just had her daughter now, and I think they'll do things differently. But I know my eldest daughter, she's worked full-time all the time with the children, and my little one might do the same.
What would you have done differently? In
hindsight, I would have spoke up. I would have spoke up to my managers or my peers and said, look, I can't do that. I'm finding this difficult. My children have got to come first. I didn't. I just kept quiet and got on with it. Very rarely said anything. And I never heard anybody else doing that, saying I needed time. But then again, I worked in the office I worked in. It was in the valuer team, let's say, and there were 3 men and me. And so it was different. I wanted to be as good as them and to do the same work as them. But I clearly remember us sitting down in the Colliergate office and a valuation coming in that was at 5:30, 5:45 time, something like that, and saying, I couldn't go. But that's not great, is it? You wanted to be there and to do that. So that was one down for me.
Yeah, but you were there on other appointments, weren't you?
Yeah, I would have been. Yeah, I would have been. And, at one time I was the biggest fee earner because I do think women Well, I do
Did you
think,
suffer from imposter syndrome?
yeah, always still do now.
Well, let me let me let you into a little
Yeah.
secret. Is that some of the biggest names in the industry, if not the biggest names in the industry, have sat on that sofa, and every single one of them suffers, including Simon Whale,
Wow.
from imposter syndrome.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I've
You know,
always
you
suffered it.
see these
Yeah, you do.
facades.
Yeah.
Everyone's got it,
Yeah.
and if you haven't got it, you're an egotistical
Yes, probably.
crap.
Probably maybe it's a good thing to have then.
Yeah, as long as you don't let it overtake
Yeah.
your life. So, did you said you have 4 children? So, did you remarry and have a 4th child?
I met my partner Mark at Hunters, so I'm eternally grateful to Hunters for that. I don't know if he
had
is.
a 4th child?
And then Mark, this 4th child, Elliot, was Mark's son. He was 4 when we got together, and so he joined, but he's lived with us so all the time, and so he's.
Okay, so when you got together with Mark, what level were you at then?
I think at that point, would I have been a valuer? I think I would have been a valuer at that time.
Okay, so as you and Mark were together.
Wasn't. I was in sales progression.
Right. Okay.
Sorry.
Don't worry. But the point is this: is that now you've got a partner involved. Were you still suffering from mum guilt?
Yes.
Even more so?
Yes.
So so whether there's someone else in the relationship or not, actually what you're telling me there is that because there was someone, there was Mark in the relationship, you had even more guilt, because not only are you trying to spin the plates to be a great mother, you've obviously got to be a good wife as well.
Supposed to be, yeah, that's right, a good girlfriend, as because we never married.
All right,
but
yes, you're married and all but name.
Yes, everything but name. But yeah, you are then trying to. You've also got to have a space there for another person, and for
you know how needy men are.
and yes, and the thing is, Mark had his own business. He left Hunters. He was the financial side, and then he left and got a mortgage business, and so he was running his own business. And let's say I had a son that was introduced to my girls, and they were trying to do that. You're trying to find a space to do all that.
What advice would you give to couples, and then separately men in particular, about you rose through the ranks, you were sales progression, but you did go up through the ranks.
That's right.
You were national ops director, which, let's be honest, is you did all the work and Kevin got all the glory.
Well, Kevin had moved on by then.
Okay.
But yeah.
but
Yeah.
What advice would you do spinning all these plates? And then secondly, what advice would you particularly give to men to help the women in their relationships who want to progress their careers, to enable them to be a good mother, good wife, and a career as well? What advice would you give? So let's start off. Go on.
So yeah, my advice to women would be to speak up. I think the biggest thing that women do not tend to do, I see, is to say, I'm struggling here. Because the minute they say that, they think it is going to be a negative and it's going to be seen as such against their peers. But until they start speaking up and saying, I've got a problem, I need an hour, or I need this, or I need that, we're never going to move forward, because people can't be mind readers. And I've realised that, a lot of it was absolutely my fault for not speaking up. I don't even know whether it'd be a case of, that's all right, go. And we're going to still see you as exactly the same. But my advice for men is that they should be open to saying, is everything okay? No. Is everything okay? Is there anything we can do? But also things like at home, I think more sharing the cooking, the responsibility of cooking the meal, on an evening.
Planning the meal.
Not just being there to do the Master Chef and then leaving the trail of destruction around.
Okay.
The whole thing,
Okay.
all those type of stuff. And it's sometimes just the little things, just being involved in the day-to-day
planning. Doing the dishwasher, not saying I've done the dishwasher.
Exactly. It's all those things. But, women have, I'm sure men have it to a degree, but I'm sure women have a big checklist of things that they have to have done all day, every day. Women also have a big responsibility with their sons, I think. You know, I have a son now that's 26 almost, and to me, my responsibility with him is to make sure that he sees women as strong, successful people, which he has done with all his sisters, but also as an equal, because I do not believe genuinely that this next generation is going to be the same as the generation was before. I think when I look at Elliot, I see a man who is completely sees women and men as an equal. And that's fantastic. I'm not saying that's everything that I've done. His dad's brought him up like that as well. But the people he's around when where he's at working with, they're all like that. So I think things have moved on an awful lot. But we as women do need to make sure that our sons are brought up to respect women, to be open, to be able to show emotion, you know, because they have their own battles. You know, it's not easy being a man these days. I genuinely don't believe that. There's an awful lot of saying, oh, women need this, we need to be pushed further, women can do it, we're the best, Hang on a minute. We want equal, don't we? We don't want to be better than, we want to be equal and just seen as equal. And I think that's really what I would advise women to be doing.
Thank you for your time today, Jayne.
Thank you.